everyone, welcome to another podcast of Marketing 101. This week's guest is Luke Komiskey from Data Drive. This one's a cool one. Data is pretty much, we used to say this along, I'm aging myself, the future, but the future's here and data is really important. And he's going to dive right into why it's important in your business and how you can leverage data to grow your business. You really can. And I'm a big believer in that. So thanks for being on the show, Luke.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, tell us how this all started. How did you get into this, and how did you get to where you are today?
So during college, I have a background in computer science. I got into programming at an early age, always been a big fan of mathematics, working with numbers. And when I was getting out of college, it was during that time when a lot of people in computer science were moving towards mobile app development, and Angry Birds was kind of the big thing in the scene. And then the other route was just this growing field of data practitioners. Data science was really starting to become a very popular term. And really, right out of the gates, got into corporate America as a data engineer, helping move data for an international organization, move it around from point A to point B, stored in a data warehouse. And over time, I've gotten into consulting, and through a lot of just variety of data related roles, have ultimately landed at founding Data Drive a little over 7 years ago. And as you could tell by the name, everything has been deeply rooted in helping organizations do more with the data that they are collecting. And the innovation around the data scene that I'm sure we'll talk about is just changing so fast that it keeps me interested this whole ride.
That's awesome. That's great. So now with Data Drive, you are running a business doing this and helping not only small businesses, but medium and even some large businesses on a bigger scale. Tell us how that works. What are you looking into? Are you protecting data? Are you storing data? And are you leveraging data?
All of the above. We provide a service that's called Managed Analytics Services, and it's a relatively unique offering, but people understand managed services because often people think about outsourcing IT, laptop ordering, password resets. What Managed Analytics Services gets to is everything around data as an asset and helping organizations understand how they can harness that, because every organization has a ton of applications that people are creating data in, whether it's point of sale transactions, CRM systems, marketing interactions. Every single thing is creating new and new data points. And what our team provides is the ability to integrate all of those applications into a common source of truth in a cloud data warehouse, and then be able to provide both internal and external reporting insights for either internal users to make more informed, faster decisions, or external users to even have access to data that's being processed through whatever that organization's doing as their service in the world.
Great. Yeah. So that's fantastic. What's the smallest type businesses you work with?
Yeah, generally the organizations that we find, I mean, as long as you've got your business model really locked down, it's not necessarily a revenue thing. It's more of a maturity of, hey, we understand that data is actually going to be an asset that we can use to add gasoline to the fire. But a lot of times our organizations that we commonly work with may be as low as like 5 or 10 million in revenue, but all the way up to north of 500 million in revenue, because everyone has data. That's the beautiful thing about it. And every industry needs help with trying to harness everything that they're creating to actually make it a valuable asset for them.
Right. Yeah. So that's great. That's good to know. What, because most of our listeners are probably on the small scale businesses under 5 million. What do you think? Where should they start with their data? I mean, obviously, health service providers all have HIPAA to be concerned governing them. So they have data and they have to know how to store it properly. So that's great. So you got a little bit more of an ideal client for yourself there because they know about data, but they're also a little shell shocked about their data. What are some strategies that you think they can implement like right away simply to help have access to that asset?
Yeah, a big part of how, I help consult a lot of business owners through that initial step is I think people are, to your point, often overwhelmed about what we could be doing with data. What's the right data to be collecting? How can I be safe and secure about the data that I'm bringing in? The big part of like making that initial data investment is just being very clear about what kind of decisions am I making today, that either one, I'm making that decision because I just have a good, gut decision that I'm making, and I'm assuming that I know how the market's working. Or for businesses that are getting to that point of scale, is how do I democratize data access so that everyone in my organization can feel equipped with the same type of maybe innate industry knowledge that I know? How can we provide data informed decisions to them? So the first step for anyone looking to invest in data analytics is just being very clear about what are those use cases that we're trying to go after. Because I think so often data, if left undefined, can feel like a unnecessary investment. And we want everyone who's investing with data analytics to know that, it's actually adding some kind of incrementality to how they operate, whether reducing expenses or increasing revenue. And so it's just being very clear about identifying strong use cases, because that will drive what kind of data you actually need. Where is that data currently stored? What processes are in place that are allowing people to enter that data in? And then ultimately will drive a lot of the more technical things around automation, data warehousing, reporting, all the technical stuff that needs to happen. But that first piece needs to be, what are we trying to achieve and where is that data located? Do we have that data today?
Perfect. I love it. So let's use a dentist, for example. I like the dentist type businesses because they do generate more. Of course, it's just more of an expensive asset. But let's say their data over 10 years, 15 years, what would be something that they could use their data for, aside from retargeting and mailing happy birthday cards? How else can they use this data to leverage themselves in their business?
Yeah, there's some really cool. I mean, there's the marketing opportunities, right? Of just understanding more about where your customers are located, who's coming in, maybe starting to understand if there's like a network effect of customers that are in a certain location where it might make more sense to have targeted marketing investments where those people are located, or to be strategic about not investing where your customers are already located. There's two ways to look at that. The other way is just to, like, I think it's really fascinating to maybe understand a little bit more about a customer journey and being able to piece together that somebody might come in for a variety of services, and how can we be proactively communicating that they need to come back in for something, or to get ahead of something that we see as like a common pattern that our patients are going down. They can really start to, even from an operational perspective, start to understand an entire patient journey through in and out of every appointment, to be able to piece together like how valuable that customer is. Are they doing all the right things that we're asking them to do? Like, just general tracking can be a really critical piece of that.
Yeah, and as a marketing coach myself, just your focus and what you're saying is completely different than my focus. Like I haven't thought about anything you just said. So that's amazing. Like the customer journey and targeting like where they're at, like just knowing where they're at by zip code. And you said both sides of the coin there, retargeting that same area or omitting that area and targeting a whole new area. I mean, that's genius. I'm going to do it on Monday. That's fantastic. But see, so and that's how you look at data from all angles, not just the two sides. I mean, you're coming in from all different angles and utilizing that data because of the systems and the probably the computer software that you use and the things that you use to help track data. You have many points of access to the data, and you can filter data a lot different than maybe a business owner or anybody else that looks at their data. So I see the value. I see tons of value in this. So, I mean, what about, I mean, it gets overwhelming. Even if we use data drive, it gets overwhelming. What are some AI tools? I know that's a big rage right now. It's just everyone trying to use AI, chat GPT. I mean, that's one thing, but there's so many other tools out there that AI can make our lives easier and more so automate things. What do you recommend both for small, medium-sized businesses to maybe
Mhm.
start looking into and leveraging?
Yeah. Yeah, there's like two ways that I'll answer that. One is more from just like the pure data analytics lens, that I
Mhm.
think what's going to be really cool, and we're still in the hype cycle of AI across the board. Nobody will actually know what kind of like legitimate use cases will end up at the end of all of this, but we're at that high tide of, there's a lot of cool marketing things being thrown out there. From a data analytics perspective, I think what we're starting to see is, over the past decade or so, it's really all been about data visualization, interactive dashboards. I think what AI is really starting to opening up for us is, what are ways that I can essentially do a Google search of my entire data ecosystem and be able to like get back a search result that tells me exactly what, a pretty chart or the right answer back from my data. For a lot of organizations that we consult, like, they get very excited about that use case, but it also has to be foundationally built on a solid data foundation, right? For AI to confidently tell you what the right answer is instead of confidently lie to you. As a business owner side of the world, I have been using a lot of AI tools. So like there's obviously ChatGPT, I think is still a really great tool to use. It's really all about understanding how to prompt or ask good questions of it or warm it up to what you're trying to do so it doesn't give you just really generic answers. But there are a number of things that I've taken advantage of from a marketing perspective. So there are a lot of like SEO tools, like Surfer SEO is one of the things I've used. Some chat GPT equivalents of like writing marketing articles. And really what that's allowed me to do as a business owner is to not spam a bunch of AI generated articles, but more organize my technical thoughts. Whether it's, if you're working as a chiropractor or working as a data professional, there's a lot of technical knowledge that we have, and how can we distill that into something that our customers actually care about. I think AI has been really helpful for helping organize my thoughts and helping rank my website. So selfishly, I'm like, as a business owner, I've been using AI to move from 400 visitors a month to over 4,000 visitors a month just by getting more and more relevant content out there. And I'm a programmer, I'm not a natural marketer. And so that to me is like the superpower of AI, is it allows me to be able to brainstorm with somebody else and learn with them, which is really cool.
That's very cool, for sure. Yeah, many ways to use this stuff, and the tools that are out there, even for, I mean, I use a lot of different programs that use AI. It just speeds up the process, like video editing and audio and just getting stuff out. Like this whole thing is half AI. I mean, it's going to write it up for me after we're done talking to save me a bunch of narrative time. So there's so many ways to utilize that. So once we have data, and we've been established for a while, what are some drives that you help businesses go with on? I mean, use the example of like health professionals with that data. And what do you recommend they move forward with you? I mean, if they were going to take a step and say, "Hey, yeah, I want to deep dive into my data a little bit more and implement some of these strategies that you've brought up today," what's the next steps for them?
Yeah, great question. So, we already talked about just being very clear about like structuring what kind of data driven questions you even want to begin with. And for a lot of those initial consultations that I do with business owners is just helping dream up like what is possible within data. Like let's disregard the fact that maybe data is not accessible or that data doesn't exist, but just helping think through like what are those golden questions that would be ideal to get to. Because if nothing else, if the data is not available today, there are certainly steps you want to do to start creating that data to get eventually to those insights. From there, once we identify like what are those key metrics that are either helping to drive your business or are critical to your lead generation or expense management, then it's about going deeper into what are the applications that are in place today. Do you have a solid CRM system? Are people filling out that CRM system? These are all like important people process questions before we can even get to the fun part of data. And then that's where our team can step in with more of the data engineering talent, the people who are laying down the data pipelines that move data from point A to point B, structured in a way that's going to be analytically useful and to be able to provide interactive reports. As I mentioned before, like the innovation that's going on within data analytics has been happening so quickly that I think people underappreciate how far they can get even within a small business with the data tools that are available to them. That even being able to like understand basic descriptive analytics stats around how is my business doing yesterday is achievable within a matter of weeks. This isn't a multi-year implementation that used to take place. It is really quick to get these things up and running and to start iterating on these ideas that are going to help move your business forward to allow you to use data as a strategic asset.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. It can. I mean, most of the data solutions that we use, I mean, even just your CRM or your email, I mean, how much data that they keep, and we can use that. What do you think about third party data that we unintentionally get because of the efforts we do either through marketing or targeting? Like I was just thinking as you were talking, like when I run a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad or whatever it is, there is a background data collection that Meta uses and keeps, and you have some access to that. That is a ton of information about who's seeing, where it's going, and who's responding that you may not even tap into because all you're doing is trying to funnel them into either fill out a form or fill out a landing page. But how do you guys use that information? Is it usable? That's my question. Is it usable outside of things like Meta or TikTok or whatever it may be, or Google Ads?
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of use cases for it. So like one of the biggest industries that we partner with a lot is like media marketing agencies, and so that I mean that is really the secret sauce of if you can use that third party data correctly to start doing A/B testing, start to iterate on what ads are and creative are actually resonating with the audience. I mean that is a way for a marketing media agency, but any marketing function to know that to be able to optimize that every dollar of spend that I'm putting into marketing is going to get hopefully more than a dollar back of value. Uh, and so I like a lot of these like digital marketing systems or just any other systems. There is a lot of secondary third party data that you can bring in to overlay over that analysis. I mean, I could talk all day about just like some of the really cool use cases like we've done with like a pizza delivery franchise and to be able to like overlay that with your business operations. I mean that is where you're getting into powerful analytics to not only understand your own business, but then to also understand how your business fits into a broader ecosystem. And that's what the third party data really gives back to you more than anything.
Great. So the answer is yes. You guys highly use third party. I mean, things that you just don't think about. I mean, as a business owner, you're just trying to get new clients, trying to build your business. But in the background, those efforts build data. So when we think about data, it's not just phone number, address, and email. This is how they're using it. How are you even getting to the point where they do give you an email address? I mean, these are cool ways about that. So I'm excited about that stuff because that's the next level of marketing and how to fine tune it to take it to the next level. So if it's costing you like lead per generation, whatever, $7 or $17 or $27 to get a lead, by utilizing data better, that's how you slash these things in half. You can get more
Mhm.
leads and your dollar goes further. That's what you meant by a dollar in, dollar out. So I love that. How do we get in contact with you? I mean, what's the first steps to look into Data Drive or contact you or maybe ask questions or do you do free consults or how does that all work?
Yeah, for sure. So, best place to find out just more about data drive in general and what we do in this world is at godatadrive.com, Go Data Drive. From there, you can reach out on our contact us form for a free consultation to have a deeper discussion around what data can provide for you and when and if it makes sense for making that investment into data analytics. I'm also personally incredibly active on LinkedIn, and so I'm happy to direct message with people there and discuss more.
Great. We'll drop those handles in there so people can reach out to you that way. And then what's something to leave people, especially health service providers on to think about come, Monday morning in their business? How should they look at data a little bit different and maybe put it underneath the magnifying glass a little bit, or maybe make a bigger effort into no, not just protecting it, but getting it.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll go back to I think the biggest thing that a business owner, business operator can really be thinking about is during the day, how many times are they making decisions based off either experience or gut decisions, and what data points are missing? Because the sooner you can identify what you are trying to accomplish, maybe data points that you wish you had, the sooner you can put processes, people, and applications in place to start collecting that. And that is ultimately going to unlock the data that you need to be able to take that next step. And so just be thinking about that back of your mind of like, what are those data driven questions that we can get after, disregarding the current state, right? Dream big. We can get back to reality during implementation discussions, but dream big.
I love it. That's great. We'll put all your handles in there. I really appreciate you being on the show and taking some time. And we'll have everything connected there. Any last tips, thoughts?
No, thank you so much for the time.
Awesome. Thanks for being here.